according to my survival grandparent at the Shark Island, when you complain, you were just rewarded with a whipping.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So today we're going to talk about a deeply important yet tragic topic. It's the first genocide of the 20th century that took place not in Germany, but in Namibia. At the time, Namibia was part of the German Empire. And as German colonizers began coming into the country, they began taking land and cattle and other resources from the local peoples, who are known as the Nama and the Herero. The locals revolted against this, and in 1905, German General Lothar von Trotha issued an extermination order. People were then put in concentration camps, made to work in slave labor, expelled from their land, and they were killed. And these events would come to be known as the first genocide of the 20th century, events that would later lead to the Holocaust. Now, to be conscious and informed travelers, it means not only looking at a location's highlights, but also looking at its history, the good with the bad. Today I'm going to start by showing you guys the full reportage that I did for BBC News. And over the course of the next few days, we'll take a look at this history through the lens of those affected. Over a series of interviews with the descendants of the genocide survivors, we're going to take a critical look at Namibia's history, its past and its present, and what the Herero and Nama people today are currently doing to obtain justice. So I have to admit that it wasn't until a few years ago that I actually learned about this part of history, accidentally. I was scrolling through images online and I came across this photograph of emaciated Africans, and below the image it said that this photograph had been taken in the early 20th century during a genocide in Namibia, and I was floored. I thought the first genocide of the 20th century took place in Europe against the Jewish people. I had no idea that there was a similar event that took place 30 years earlier in Namibia. Now, my father was Jewish, and I always grew up with an understanding that our history was well known. I guess I took it for granted that the Holocaust was something that I learned about in school, that the world seemed to know about. So when I came across this image online, I just was floored that I hadn't heard about this. These events were committed by the same people that had committed atrocities against the Jewish people, but this event had been done in Africa. So I began looking into this history. I just felt like I had to learn more. I realized that they had not gotten a proper recognition from Germany as to what had happened. Nobody has received reparations as many Jewish people received after the Holocaust. The more I learned, the more I realized that we need to shine a light on this story. When I was in Namibia, I met with descendants of the genocide, and they showed me around locations that had been former concentration camps. I was with a man named Kapihi, and he took me to this church. He told me that this is the site of eugenic studies, where the skulls were removed from corpses, people that had been killed during the genocide, and these skulls were placed in boxes to then be shipped off to Germany. I couldn't believe that there was no recognition of what this location had been. There was no sign indicating that this had been the site of such atrocities. It was just a church that continues to be in use today. When I think about my journalism work on this topic over the last few years in Namibia, I just think about this stark contrast between what happened in Namibia during the early 20th century and then what would happen 30 years later in Europe. I think about how when I went to Berlin a couple of years ago, there was this beautiful Holocaust museum dedicated to the memory of those who had been so tragically murdered during the Jewish Holocaust. It's a place you can go to remember what had happened. If you go to New York City, if you go to downtown Manhattan, there's a beautiful 9/11 memorial that again celebrates the memory of those who had been so wrongfully taken. But when you go to Namibia, you don't see anything like that. In speaking to the descendants of the Herero and Nama genocide, all they want is the legacy of what had happened to be remembered. They want justice for their people, and a part of that is celebrating the memory of those who had been so wrongfully taken in Namibia all of those years ago. In Namibia, there is no proper memorial dedicated to the Herero and Nama genocide, like there is in Berlin, like there is in New York, like there is in so many other places around the world where we have memorials dedicated to the memory of those who've been so wrongfully taken from this world. So over the next few days, I'm going to be sharing this part of Namibia's history with you through my photojournalism work that I have done in Namibia over the last several years. Now I'll show you guys the full piece that I did for BBC News on the legacy of the Herero and Nama genocide.
The order was to kill all the Hereros from the world so that no Herero can be seen anymore.
According to my one survival grandparent at the Shark Island, when you complain, you were just rewarded with a whipping. Some were also doing to skin other people's heads, like goats' heads, and clean them to be taken away to the destination unknown to them. It was in that harsh environment that they could survive. When they were released, they were just bone and flesh. What we are hoping is that the generations to come must learn about what exactly happened. And by learning this, they unite in order to build a united and prosperous Namibia, and especially to have a strong belief in the Lord so that we are going to forgive each other and try to walk to the better future.
All right, guys, that's it for today. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe at the link down below, and I will see you in the next video.